Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Crappy Days, the podcast for people born in the wrong generation. As always, I'm Justin. That's Jake on the other line there in Florida. And I don't think I told you this yet, Jake, but our last episode was one of the most listened to so far. Besides our very first one that got the most, obviously. People always listen to the first one you put out most. You know, they're on it for 5 minutes and then they never listen again. But this one got it. We got a little renaissance of listeners on this one. I'm not really surprised because I think any stories, for those who missed the last one, we called it Church and Childhood. And that's all it was. It was just a bunch of stories from when we were kids, basically. Maybe a little contrast to adult life. And we're kind of just going to keep that rolling this week. And I had a birthday recently. That was one thing I was thinking about not long ago. And it got me thinking about the difference between birthdays as kids versus now, because I don't give a shit about my birthday anymore. All the pageantry obviously is gone, but I mean, that has to happen at a certain age, especially when you're a man. You can't be walking around like one of these 22-year-old girls talking about how it's your birthday month and thinking you just own 8% of the year. So I'll go get into how I celebrated my birthday this year, and then we'll maybe get into some stories about birthdays of the old days. So yeah. I'm 32. And forgive me, Jake, this is going to be the 9th time you hear about this within this series that it's coming up. The Godfather turned 50 years old. So they re-released it in theaters on like a limited release. And when I saw it was released on the 25th. My birthday's on the 27th. I thought, I think I'm going to do that for my birthday, or at least around that time. I just feel like going and doing that, whether I do it by myself or with somebody else. I ended up taking my girlfriend, and I knew going in she was not going to enjoy it, and I told her about that ahead of time. It's a 3-hour movie. It's slow to people who aren't big movie people, that they're going to think it's a slower, kind of drier movie, I guess. It's from 1972. Some people just automatically don't like things that are old. She's kind of one of those people in a way. And it has no subtitles. She's from Brazil, so, and I can barely understand Don Corleone the way he speaks, so a little bit of a challenge. She spent most of the time on her phone, but kept it buried away. And then not long before that, I made her watch the Super Bowl. So I feel like I'm just introducing her to the most important things in American culture, and she could not give a shit. She was equally uninterested in the Super Bowl, but powered through it, put up with it for my sake. So that was nice.
Good for her. Good lady. Yeah, I'm definitely more in that category. I can't tolerate the really long movies, as you know. 3 hours just sounds like a chore. Nobody has time for that. Interested. Didn't enjoy the Super Bowl. It was a pretty good game. The Super Bowl was a pretty good game. No interest at all. Does she even like soccer? I mean, will she be into the World Cup next year?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know at some point I'm going to pay for it. She's probably going to make me watch a soccer game, and I'm going to want to kill myself. But I'll probably owe it to her by then.
Was she one of the Brazilians just bawling, shedding tears when they got whooped by Germany like 7-0?
I asked her about that at one point, and she basically she didn't freak out, but she pretty much said, "Yeah, we don't talk about that." So it's equivalent to like, I don't know, like Blitzkrieg or something, it's a sore subject.
Yeah, a little more relevant. I mean, but they were invading the nets like Russia was invading the Ukraine now. So,
well, and Germany was invading the nets like they were invading Poland in 1939. I think they scored like 7 goals, but we better get off that subject, or she's going to be disappointed when she listens to this. But that's all I did for my birthday. I went and I watched The Godfather, and I ate Chipotle for lunch, and it was good enough for me. You turned 31 this year. Do you even remember what you did? Did you do anything special at all?
Yeah, I have no recollection of what I did for my birthday. I don't even remember what day it landed on. Was it a weekend? Was it a weekday? If it was a weekday, I just worked. I maybe cracked open a beer later that night, and that was the extent of it. And then just bitched and moaned about turning 31. That's kind of how I celebrate my birthdays, just waking up in a grumpy mood, taking it out on my family and anybody near me, including my kids. And that's the extent of my days. I've never really been a big birthday guy, though. Even as a kid, I mean, I always kind of rejected them. as sort of this big deal. Birthday months should be a capital offense.
Well, yeah, expecting people to give you any kind of special treatment because that's
because you didn't die this year.
well, forget about that. I mean, but expanding it to the whole month is I don't even know. I don't know when that started. It's probably been a couple of years now. I think it's all part of this like self-love, self-importance thing we've got going these days, that you're like, a stranger is not going to care about the day of your birth, let alone the goddamn month. It's a joke. But yeah, no, when I was I didn't even crack a beer. Like you said, I didn't even do that this year. I had it's the days of cake and ice cream and the pin the tail on the donkey and all that stuff is long gone. I remember I did all the typical stuff as a kid. We'd have friends over to the house. I was allowed to invite like 4 friends. There's a limit. There's already too many people in my house. So I invited like the same 4 friends in 7th and 8th grade. Actually probably the saddest birthday memory I have, I was like 5 and my mom took me to McDonald's to play at the which is fine. I think I was okay with that. But I was trying to go on the play place and they wouldn't let me because I didn't have socks. I was actually wearing you remember those water socks?
Yeah, like a water shoe.
Yeah, exactly. They're shoes, but they would call them water socks. So it's like, you have to take your shoes off but have socks on. And I was wearing shoes that were socks, and that was a no-go. They were like, all right, sorry, 5-year-old on your birthday, you can't go in. Assholes.
I love that somebody was making $6 an hour at the time to just rain on your birthday. Awesome. Great story for that person. Hopefully it made their day. I'm interested that you got limited to four people. My mom was the exact opposite, actually. And I remember in the second grade was probably the only time I really had a birthday party ever. And in the second grade, she insisted I invite every single kid from class because she didn't want to leave anybody out.
Oh, that's terrible.
So even more odd, the entire class did show up. They showed up. And so I do remember, like, for the entire birthday party, like all the boys in the class all just went outside and fucked around in the backyard and we played football. None of us engaged with any of the girls at all. I don't even think I said as much as hello to like half the kids who showed up with a present. I just took the present and then just did my own thing.
And so it was 100% turnout.
I don't know if it was 100%. It had to have been 90 plus though. Yeah, like basically the whole class was there.
Okay.
And again, I just remember it like not engaging with almost everybody there.
Yeah, I was pretty engaged having my limited guest list. I remember it was always around, I could only invite a handful, like 4 or 5. And when I was in probably 3rd grade, so my younger brother, he must have been like 5 or 6 at the time. And so he was pretty ignorant being that age. I think especially his views on race. I think he only was aware that there were white people, black people, and Chinese people. He didn't know about anyone else. So my friend Jose rings the doorbell and we open the door for him. And I'll never forget this. I remember hearing my 6-year-old brother in the background go, "Who this Chinese guy?" Because apparently he didn't know what a Mexican was. He had never seen one yet. Or he wasn't aware. He'd seen many of them living where we lived, but he thought he was Chinese, and he announced it to the entire party.
I love the ignorance of a 6-year-old. Around that same time, I think that you said that was second or 3rd grade. Yeah. 3rd grade, I did go to a kid's birthday party, and I wasn't even that close with him. I think it might have been another situation where he had to invite the whole class. I don't know if moms just like collaborated on that, and everybody thought that was a good idea. But I do remember like kids passing out the cards to every kid in class like it was Valentine's Day. I had to do that with my birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing. But I went to this kid's birthday party, and he had a pool actually, and I was fucking thrilled. I couldn't wait to get in that pool. And I remember I had a Jacksonville Jaguars t-shirt on. It's important. What I was wearing was important because his mom set rules that like, all right, we're gonna actually do gifts, and then we're gonna have cake. Everybody's gonna eat, and then we're gonna wait a little bit before anybody jumps in the pool because we don't want you to get sick. And so like it was this whole day thing, and I'm just selfishly the whole time stewing in the corner, just waiting to get the green light to go into the pool. I don't care about singing happy birthday or pin the tail end. Just get in the fucking pool.
We're cramping up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So eventually she finally says, all right, everybody can go swim, and gives everybody the green light. And I'm out that door so fast. Like I just beeline it right into the pool. Cannonball in, first one in, realize I still have my Jacksonville Jaguars t-shirt on. I forgot to take my clothes off.
Were you wearing jeans or something too?
Probably shorts. I didn't wear jeans until I was like in the 9th grade, but yeah, I definitely did not get into my swim trunks or anything like that.
Just itching that bad to get in.
Yeah, it wasn't like some little pissant six-year-old either. I mean, at that point, 3rd grade, what? I was like 9 or 10. Inexcusable.
Oh no, you're not that old by 3rd grade. Because think about it, you're like 5 in kindergarten, so you're like 8 in 3rd grade, something like that. But
okay, well,
that is still pretty good. You recall getting in any kind of like mischief at anyone's birthday party as you got older?
I don't know, man. I really don't remember attending birthday parties either. I don't know.
Well, the reason I ask is because I remember when I was it was either, I think it was 7th grade, it was 7th or 8th, because I remember that I had the same group of 4 friends in middle school that I invited to my party. And strangely, none of them were really, for the most part, like friends with each other. I was like the common denominator. I was friends with all of them. And for some reason, I'm still like that today. I have like, some people just have a group of friends, like 5 people, and they all hang out together. I've never been that way. I've got like a couple friends over here and a friend here and a friend here. But anyway, one of them stayed the night at my house, and I could not handle vanilla Coke, and I still can't. And I remember having a 2-liter vanilla Coke. And this is one of those things you look back on as an adult and it makes no sense. And you're ashamed, totally embarrassed and totally ashamed to say this, but I will be saying this for the world to hear. Me and my friend just took turns pissing into that vanilla Coke bottle until it was basically full. And then once everyone else had gone home and he's staying over, we went out in like the middle of the night. Maybe not the middle of the night, but it was night. It was probably midnight or something. And, just dumped it on people's cars in the neighborhood. And my birthday's in February, so people were probably waking up to frozen piss all over their windshield.
I hope they had to get the ice scrapers out and just scrape off the piss on the windshield. Some chump who had to get to work by 6 a.m.
They would have to buy a new scraper after that. It's just ridiculous because I think if somebody did that to me, I would slit their throat.
I do actually remember. I remember. Well, was it a birthday party? I don't know. It was some kind of celebration. It might have been end of the school year, like last day of school. But it was a situation where, like, I was in the 7th grade and I had some friends stay the night, and we did go out in the middle of the night. It was like close to midnight. No reason at all. Just walk the neighborhood, and we actually had a white van pull up next to us, right off Vancouver, and these maybe high school aged kids or maybe college aged kids jump out of the van in a horse mascot head and just chase us through the night. Yeah, true story, man. One of the last times I snuck out of the house. Let me tell you, at least until I was older.
Just one person with a horse head, or was this this was a stampede of horses?
Only one of them jumped out of the back of the van. But that was enough. Hightailed it out of there, went home, and slept soundly.
No, you didn't. You probably didn't sleep the rest of the night.
Yeah, sleeping out was a bad idea.
Yeah. Did you have any birthdays on home? But did you guys have home videos at your house growing up that you remember watching?
Yeah, my dad had a video recorder, like in the late 90s, and he tinkered around with that a little bit. But I mean, it wasn't anything that we had like really recorded videos. I do remember like when my grandma passed, my dad actually ended up getting a ton of home videos from like his childhood and things that like my grandma and grandpa just had. And so like even me as like a baby and stuff like that. And he left it in the back of the truck, like inside the truck. And some kid like broke into his truck and stole everything and stole all the home videos out of it. It was like a week after my grandma passed. It was like the one like
Oh my
all the
God.
memories and stuff from that. He never got it back.
What a thing to steal too.
Yeah.
What value is this to it just
It's
priceless
irksome.
to the person it belongs to, but means nothing to you, you piece of shit. It reminds me of that. It kind of reminds me of it's not a perfect corollary, but it reminds me of that Dave Chappelle joke about the guy broke into his car, a crackhead broke his window. He's like, you know what he took? Fucking candy bar. Was going around the neighborhood looking for a crackhead with chocolate on his face. You asshole to break into somebody's car, and that's what you take.
Yeah, once he realized what it was, too, it probably just ended up in the dump. So yeah, I don't really remember like watching a ton of the home videos, but I'm sure it sounds like you have some fond memories of that, or
I have no idea. I think we lost them. I have no idea what happened to them. I don't know where they are. But yeah, we just remember having like one or two specific tapes that had a bunch of different events on them, and it was just special occasions, birthdays and stuff. It's kind of a sad thing how like that's gone extinct. I mean, people could say, "Oh yeah, you can still record all those events." It's like, yeah, but we record everything now, and we shouldn't be recording everything.
Yeah, we over record for sure.
Yes, yes. So I had I mean, look at what we're doing right now. But there were videos of me like when I was my 2-year-old birthday party, you know. There's one where like my brother was just brought home from the hospital, stuff like that. And even if you record those things now, it doesn't have the same nostalgic, you know, it's got the grainy tape and you can see like the date is in the corner and there's
it's time stamped.
Yep, and the seconds are moving and there's like you can see the play button when you first open it. Great stuff. I miss that. I wish I knew where those were. And it's like with Bob Saget dying, I think that's really the ultimate death of the home video too.
The America's Home Video.
Yeah, dude, that was great because see with that they went through a vetting process. You know, people sent in hundreds, maybe thousands of videos every week trying to get on the show, and they picked out the best ones. And it, you know, unlike today where just every piece of shit somebody, a 14-year-old, a 60-year-old, anybody wants to do is on the internet in seconds. And another great thing about America's Funniest Home Videos was almost all of it was unintentional comedy. And and a lot of the times that's the best kind you can get. See somebody falls off a fence, you know, somebody swings a wiffle bat around and hits their own nuts. That can't be beat. And instead of doing some trendy bullshit dance.
Yeah, there's a lot of good slapsticky humor and people getting injured, which is always great. I went to a taping of America's Funniest Home Videos at one point, just like got a free ticket and went. You know, when I was living in California. No, when I was living in California, like as an adult, and I was actually in the front row in the audience. And so there's an episode somewhere where I'm on TV like a number of times, just yucking it up in the audience as I'm told to be a clapping seal, because I've actually gotten texts from people a couple times like, "Hey man, I just saw you on America's Funniest Home Videos."
I forgot that show's it's still going, isn't it?
Yeah, it is still going. I mean, Tom Bergeron was the host at the time. He didn't interact with the crowd at all. He didn't give a shit about us. And the studio itself was like 55 degrees. So we just froze our ass off and then had to clap on cue and laugh on cue when we got the little sign. Even if it wasn't funny. So like half the stuff I'm yucking it up to on TV is like not funny. It's like
It would have been great to have that, you know, doing stand-up, to have those cues.
Yeah, yeah, the flashing lights, clap now.
Yeah, I think it's Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is hosting it now, or he was recently. I don't know if it's still going on. I got to look into that. But then the thing is, like, we don't really need that anymore. It's that era it's dead and gone.
Yeah, who's submitting videos and what are they submitting videos from? I mean, are they just recording them on their phone and then submitting their TikTok? I don't understand how that works because it's not like anyone really has a video camera.
They probably post stuff online and just tag America's Funniest Home Videos or something like that. Something that's way too simple and makes it way too easy for way too much shitty content to get submitted.
Yeah, what a job. Whoever has to sift through all of the hours of nonsense bullshit footage. It was probably always a terrible, terrible job, but now it's probably stuff like that head bobbing video.
Oh my God. That's what most people are doing all day long now anyway, is watching horse shit. So you might as well get paid to do it.
Yeah, true.
You ever remember a time, because we talked last week about how, both grew up in pretty Christian homes and a lot of things were off limits. You remember a time that's you got caught playing a particular video game or watching a particular movie or anything like that, where you just all hell was broke loose with your parents?
Uh I think the Eminem show CD that we touched on last episode was definitely the lighter fluid that ignited a big one. I did get caught watching South Park at one point, and I think I was in like the 6th grade, and that was just an absolute no. My mom just quickly unplugged the TV, and that was that. So I didn't turn into anything too big. I still stuck that one. But it was mainly stuff that like my mom just didn't allow, and I didn't get a chance to get caught, playing it or whatever, like Grand Theft Auto, for instance. Like I said, she was a devoted O'Reilly Factor viewer. And so she got spoon fed a lot of stuff from Bill O'Reilly about what not to let your kids do. And so I just never had those opportunities to play things like Grand Theft Auto and get caught playing them.
Well, there's one specific time I remember. So I think like me and my brother, we were in kind of a sheltered house, but we were curious. We wanted to know what was going on. Like we weren't those obedient kids who were just like, yes, sir. And I'll never do it. Absolutely not. we we had a copy. I think it was Mortal Kombat 3 for Super Nintendo. I think one of my friends gave it to me. And we had this kid over at our house. He lived in a religious house too, but he was more of he wasn't a prodigal son. He was an obedient guy. And so me and my brother are playing Mortal Kombat or whatever, and there was a feature. This kid's name was AJ. He lived in the house right behind us, and he's over at our house. And there was a feature on Mortal Kombat 3 where you could just look at all the fatalities, all the fatality moves. For those who never played Mortal Kombat, these are the kind of moves where they're finishing moves. It's a one-on-one fighting game, and you're going to do something obscene, absolutely disgustingly violent when you pull one of these. You're going to rip somebody's spine out. You're going to crush their head, and the whole screen will be covered with blood. Just awful things. And John and I decided to go to the fatality reel, and we were going to watch it. And this kid AJ he's like, "Oh, I can't be here for this." He's like he's between my brother's age and me. I think he was a year younger than me. And he didn't refuse to be in the room when it took place. So he just left our room, goes down the hall, and just sits in a chair in the living room. And he's like 8 or 9. And my dad comes down and apparently sees this kid who's over here to hang out with us, but he's just sitting alone in a chair in the living room. And my dad asks, "Hey, what's going on? I think he asked, where John and Justin are at?" Which the implication there is like, "The hell are you doing? You're supposed to be with them. Get out of my fucking chair." But the kid's response is, "Yeah, they're in the other room watching fatalities." I could hear him say that from down the hall. So, imagine being a parent, and my dad didn't know what that meant, but he knows the English language, so to him that was just like, so my kids are in the other room watching death. It sounds like I better go investigate. They probably thought we were on facesofdeath.com before that was a thing. But anyway, yeah, that cartridge definitely got thrown out after that.
Yeah, my dad's actually like kind of a gamer, so we had like an original Game Boy, like a black and white Game Boy with Mortal Kombat on it, for instance. In middle school, like I remember for Christmas one year, I got like the new Xbox, and I got Halo, the first Halo, which was a huge deal in middle school at that time, and Dave was all in, man. He was playing online on Halo. I'd come home from school. I mean, because he traveled a lot for work, but when he wasn't traveling, he was working from home. And I'd come home at like 3 o'clock. This guy'd be in the basement online playing Halo. I'm like, are you supposed to be working right now? So he's still kind of a gamer in that way. So again, I didn't get to play Grand Theft Auto or anything like that, but everything else kind of went as long as Dave thought it was a fun game.
That's pretty far from my dad, because I remember trying to play, like the one time I remember my dad trying to play any kind of video game with me. It was NBA 2K7 or something on GameCube, and maybe 2K5. It was a long time ago. And I remember getting frustrated with him, and I was so amazed by this concept that he didn't know how to move. He didn't know how to move the players. He's like, how do you move? And I remember being like, what do you mean, how do you move? Like, look at the controller. The arrows, maybe? Or the joystick? And he was like getting flustered that I was flustered that he didn't know how to move. But there was my dad, like, he did not tolerate he tolerated very little. I remember we had the Austin Powers sequel, The Spy Who Shagged Me. My older brother owned it, and I think me and my younger brother took it out and watched it. And my dad didn't catch us watching it, but we forgot to put it back in my brother's room. So I think it was just sitting out. And my dad, who's an adult, all this stuff goes over my head as a kid. I don't know what it even means, but he's looking at this thing. Austin Powers, The Spy Who I Had Sex With is essentially the title.
Yeah.
That ended up in the garbage. I felt bad because it was my brother's movie. I was watching Dumb and Dumber as an 18-year-old sitting on the couch, and it's at the part, it's like at the kind of climax of the movie where everything's coming together. Lloyd and Harry and Mary are all sitting on the bed, and they're handcuffed, and Nick is pointing the gun at him, and he said something like, my dad just got mad at like the cussing. It was nothing major. It was just like, don't play dumb with me, asshole. I think it was like a combination of like swearing and the overall anger. My dad was like, what is this garbage? Like, turn this off. A movie I had seen probably 40 times up by that time, but he was just never in the room. And I remember going, Dad, I'm 18. This is a PG-13 movie. He said asshole. So what? And my dad's like, he goes, I don't care. I'm 49 and I know garbage when I see it. My thought was, apparently you don't know a comedy masterpiece when you see it, because that's what you're looking at, pal.
So what, does he watch anything then, or?
Very little.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, probably the Great Bible Adventures that I had on cassette when I was a kid.
He likes we like some of the same things, actually. It's just a much more narrow scope. He likes, the History Channel. I'm a big history guy. I like that
Great
kind
stuff.
of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, he likes he'll watch he watches that and like the news and not much else in terms of TV. And then in movies, actually, it's really weird because he went through a phase, because there's so much he won't tolerate, as I've been saying. But like he went through a phase where he would take me and my younger brother to like PG-13 movies that had sex and lots of cussing and stuff. And we'd watch the whole thing. Like we went to Friday Night Lights. There's like sex and a lot of alcohol, like binge drinking and stuff like that in it. Took us to that. We watched the whole thing. He took us to Without a Paddle. I don't remember if you remember that.
Yeah. Dak Shepard. Yeah. My mom took me to that movie.
Yeah, it was like a weird phase he went through. And he took us to Glory Road at one point, which was PG. I think he took us to that twice. It's like the only movie he ever took us to that he actually liked. Talladega Nights he also took us to, which let's go down the list of that one. Like he's like about to have sex with his wife on the table, and the other guy's like, oh, I'll hold her hair and this and that, and like they're like kind of making fun of prayer, like, oh, sweet dear little baby Jesus. Like it checked every box that Rick was not okay with. Which reminds me, actually, there was a time Rick's a very religious, say grace before dinner kind of guy. So always did that when I was growing up. And my friend Garrett, who lived down the street, he was hanging out all the time. We're still friends. He came over, and he was not accustomed to I don't think his family said grace before dinner at all. And he really wasn't ready for Rick's grace. Because Rick Rick gets into it. He
lays it on a little thick, huh?
yeah. Like they say in Talladega Nights, you made that Grace your bitch, Dad. But I would not say that. I would never say that. But he took care of Grace. And my dad kind of always opened prayers with like, oh Jesus. Like he would sound like that. So and like like without context, it almost sounds like he's just like heard some bad news and he's not a religious man. And he goes, oh Jesus. Like it almost sounded like that. And so he lets one of those out and Garrett can't control himself. He like he outbursts laughing, kind of like a gasping. And my dad has the hands folded, comes out of it and goes, he looks at me with like the eyeballs of death, the bulging eyeballs, and he goes, dead at me, he goes, who laughed? So he was confident that it was me.
Yep.
I'm like, and Garrett goes, oh, I'm sorry, that was me, I'm sorry. And he just goes, finishes the grace.
Well, good for Garrett for owning up to it.
Yeah.
A lot of kids wouldn't do that in that situation.
I think he didn't want to see me get Homer Simpson on because that's what was about to happen. And then he was like, oh, it's not my kid. All right, let's get back to talking to the Lord.
Yeah, we were a Grace family. Well, like half the time. I don't know. It was like never done in public. It's more just like keep it to the privacy of your own home.
Like you're in communist China. We wouldn't want anyone to know we're Christians at taco time.
No, I know. We can't be looking like Mennonites.
It was grace. It was grace out in public for us too. And we had like,
I respect that.
We had such strict rules about like what we could, like my dad, I wish more people were like this because I work in a restaurant now. My dad would come in. First of all, I wouldn't want to take a family with 7 children. So it's weird. Even like I walk around a grocery store today and I see a family has like 5 kids tagging along the cart. I go, holy shit, how many kids do you need? I forget that's like less than are in my own family. It's just a weird quick reaction that's automatic because it's so rare now. But when we would go out to eat, like let's say we'd go to Burger King after church or something on Sunday, no modifications allowed. Nobody was allowed to get soda. And it was very strictly enforced that you had to eat whatever you ordered. So everybody would get like, all right, you're getting a Whopper. Oh, you don't want ketchup and mayonnaise? I don't care. It's getting ketchup and mayonnaise on it. You're all getting Whoppers and a small fry. And that's what we're doing. We're keeping it as simple as possible. And I would have done the same thing if I was in his shoes. These are all things I understand much better as an adult.
Yeah, 7 kids is a lot to wrangle. We definitely didn't get drinks. We never got desserts. Like that just wasn't. I mean, we only had 3, and that just was not an option. I mean, you're talking $15 or more for just drinks and desserts. So that was never the case. But I guess I got allowed modifications. Although like it was always just like we're going where my dad wanted to go, and that was it. There was no debate. If we're on a road trip and there was 4 fast food places, along the way that we're going to stop and pull over, it was never like, all right, this is a democracy. What does everybody want? It was, I want Wendy's. We're going to Wendy's. I don't even think my mom got a vote, by the way. A little more traditional family in that respect.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to let you lose this thought. Didn't you have something to contribute regarding Austin Powers?
Oh, yeah. So backing it up, the only thing I was going to say is my dad actually did take me to Austin Powers Gold Member in theater when I was 13, and that was a PG-13 movie. But even being PG-13, and it was kind of out of character for him, he took me out of the theater midway through the movie. It was too much. It was too much sexual innuendos and everything else. And so
that's all it is.
Yeah. Halfway through, he was like, all right, we're out of here.
So wait, how old were you at this time?
13.
I think my dad and your dad switched bodies for a period of time because your dad was pulling a Rick that it seems like something my dad would do. Oh, we're not watching this. And my dad was sitting through without a paddle and enduring it. I know he didn't like 1 second of it, but it's a weird phase he went through. I don't know. Maybe he was thinking like, we should do more fun stuff together. And we never go to movies. Let's try going to movies. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, again, pretty out of character for my dad. Although, it's not like he was letting me watch rated R movies at 11 years old and everything like that. I didn't get to watch that until I probably got into high school, and even then, he would actually fast forward scenes. Like if it got a
Rated.
little too
Oh,
inappropriate, that's it. We're fast forwarding it. Even if I was like 15 or 16 years old.
I remember a
Um,
few years. I mean, I in my 20s, I remember being at my dad's house. I think I when was it? When did this movie come out? I was probably like 24 or 25. I don't even think I was living there. I think I was just like hanging out with my brother. And when we were in my brother's room and The Wolf of Wall Street was on,
mhm.
and that movie does not go 90 seconds without an F word, a titty, or somebody snorting coke. Like one of those things is going on the whole movie. And my dad walked in. It was still pretty early in the movie, and he caught the one sweet spot where like he just kind of was in the room for a few seconds, like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" "Oh, nothing." And then he walked out. He caught the only 18 seconds of the movie that didn't have any of that. It was like the biggest relief ever, because there was probably it probably would cut right after that to Leo getting roadhead in his Ferrari. Like I can't imagine the vengeance of Rick in a situation like that, even as a guy in my 20s.
Tossing out the Apple TV or whatever it was you were watching it on at the time, breaking it into three pieces.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was on maybe I no, we were watching. I think I owned the movie. It was my disc that I had bought.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I would have been pissed because in that case it was something that I bought.
Yeah, I
So
don't know. I don't know. I mean, yeah, my parents are a little inconsistent. Like again, like I mentioned with the video games, it's like Dave thought it was a fun game, then this is allowed. Um, my parents thought Jackass was hilarious, so
yeah.
that was totally allowed. I mean, I was probably like 14 years old watching Jackass, the first Jackass when it came out. Like maybe 14 or
Yeah.
15 at that time, and that was good. I mean, we fast forwarded a couple scenes, but otherwise, good to go. You can watch this.
Huh.
So
Yeah, I
I don't
feel
know.
like I can't think of any exceptions that like I can't think of any. Yeah, like we were watching. Rick was okay with McGee and Me and the Hanna-Barbera Great Bible Adventures and Veggie Tales, and yeah, anything you wanted to watch and actually enjoy, you had to watch on your own.
Mhm.
Did you? We didn't get it. We wanted to get into this last week and never did. But organized sports growing up, I think I pretty much just played basketball. I played
Mhm.
football for like not even a season. I quit immediately. I kind of started late, and I just was way too small. Was not getting any playing time. It wasn't like the youth basketball leagues I played in where like everybody plays equal time. So I was like, I don't want to do this, and I was out. I think you played pretty much everything, right? You played football, baseball, basketball.
Yeah, I played soccer for a year. Obviously
When you
tennis
were
in high
like five,
school.
probably.
Yeah, it was the only year I played soccer. I didn't.
Everybody plays soccer when they're a little kid, and so it's just to get them out of the house and make them run around.
It's a good one. I mean, it's an easy one to pick up. Just run around and kick the ball.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I get it. But I did play football for a long time. Obviously tennis in high school. Yeah, I just kind of tried everything out a little bit. Um, I always actually kind of hated football, but I just played it my entire childhood, and then I finally quit after freshman year. I finished the freshman football season, and I was like, I'm done with this.
Just play
Um,
because your friends played or what?
I just love this. Like football is just my go-to sport. I just love the game of football. But playing it itself, I just actually hated the contact. So, and it's shunned nowadays because everybody's concerned about concussions and everything like that. But back in my day, let me tell you, we had hitting drills. And by the way, we had hitting drills, at grid kids and the elementary level where you just line two kids up, across from each other, give one of them the ball and just smack each other as hard as you could.
Hmm.
I mean, that was a thing. And so I actually even remember like in high school, like our buddy Max, we both played on the freshman team in high school. And neither of us, I don't think he really cared for the contact either. So we'd get these hitting drills and we'd be like on the opposite side trying to line up with one another just to make sure we could just kind of like go easy and not get schmucked. And I do remember like on a number of occasions, the coaches calling us out for pillow fighting. uh,
Just calling you pussies, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. and you'd get like some big kid, just a mammoth of a kid who's just way bigger than you, who would just destroy you and break you in half sometimes. And they would just, all right, get up. It's like, why are you lining me up with this guy's 6'6"?
Yeah, I remember actually the one year that I played football, and not even the full year, but like it was before our first game. We were just in the practicing down by Westgate Elementary. I got rocked by this kid, and I was like, I am in way over my head here, because I was like, they had me at like defensive back. I had no idea what I was doing. This is how far my football knowledge went at the time as a little kid. I was lined up against the receiver, and he just like runs right through me, just like sends me probably flying 5 feet, and like to the point I think I almost like knocked the wind out of me. And I remember like my older brother, my oldest brother, dying over this later on. That I was like, I didn't know receivers could block like that. I thought I just had to backpedal and keep up with him and try to stop him from catching the ball. I did not realize he was allowed to take my ass out.
I always wanted to play receiver, but like, yeah, obviously, you knew me in high school, and I was kind of a lankier kid in high school. Like I was actually pretty skinny and just somewhat tallish, not super tall, of course, but just kind of somewhat tall and lanky. And for whatever reason, I was like that throughout middle school, everything, but they always wanted me to be on the offensive line. And I had no interest in that. I'm not going to be with big tubelards down here. I'm like 150. At a high school level, like that's still not that big.
You were reasonably fast too, weren't you?
Yeah, I have no idea. They always wanted to pigeonhole me on the offensive line, and I wanted the fucking glory. Damn it! Nobody gets glory, when they prevent a sack.
Yeah,
I want to be catching TDs.
Even in the NFL, nobody's getting glory.
That's right. It's an important position. Nobody cares for it. Put the fat kids on the O-line. But there was a lot of, favoritism and whatnot. A lot of the kids on the team always had, multiple dads on the coaching staff and whatnot. And I ran into that a couple of times, not just in football, but, in basketball too. Sometimes, I can't remember if it was 5th grade Twin City or if it's maybe like 6th grade Horse Seven Hills. But a couple of the kids who were friends, and they were in the same circle of friends, their dads were the coaches. And so I do remember like just not getting much playing time at all. Like they just favored their own kids and anybody who hung out in that little circle. And it was actually a whole ordeal. And after like 3 games of this, my dad fucking lit him up. He just pulled him aside after like a game where I got like very little playing time, and he was just fuming. I mean, I'm talking cussing him out. He lit him up. He did that on a number of occasions. I probably 3 or 4 teachers and a couple of coaches that he just absolutely went ballistic on at one point in my childhood. If I'm looking back at it, most of it was actually pretty justified. It was a righteous anger, but he sure let him have it.
Do you remember what kind of the thing I always look back on and laugh at is the shitty names that kids give their teams. Like the first one I was on, I started organized basketball in 3rd grade. I played in that crappy Twin City League. It's not competitive at all. If somebody scored 16 points, if an individual scored 16 points in the game, they were not allowed to score anymore. So like if a guy scored 16 and then he goes in and lays it up for 18 points, no, it's not. It's worth 0 points. you reached your 16 cap. But the first team I played on, at least the first couple, like you said, the dad of one of the players was the coach. The first team was called the Stunners, stupid, shitty name. And then the next year in 4th grade, it was called the Scorpions, equally shitty name, probably. Do you remember any worse?
Yeah, I don't know if I can name them all, but I certainly remember a couple. One of which was, I think, maybe also the first year I played Twin City basketball. And we took a team vote, and I was maybe the 2nd or 3rd grade, and the team decided on Blue Devils. We just wanted to be the Blue Devils. Duke was a big deal. College basketball was a big deal back then. And I remember like telling my mom, like, hey, yeah, we're the Blue Devils. And my mom was just like, you're what? What team name? I don't like that at all. Why would the coach allow you guys to call yourselves the Devils?
Did
Like
she
grilling me. Like
did she
I'm
go light him
responsible for
up?
this.
Did she
No,
go
she did
light him
not.
up, Dave style?
Kim was not a light him up type person. She was more just talk shit about it and have an issue with it, but never say anything. Um,
My
but
I was looking at my brother's kids' basketball pictures. I can't remember if I showed this to you. I should have. It's the kind of thing we would have discussed, but it was the funniest name I've ever seen for a child's organized sporting team. It was get this, the Blue Dinosaurs. Some 5-year-old picked that dumbass name. The dinosaurs would be funny enough, but the Blue Dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's very Vegas Golden Knights vibes. um, the other one I definitely remember too was flag
Hey, at least
football.
it's not
Okay.
demonic like Blue Devils.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Of all,
absolutely.
of all the blue things you could be, you don't want to be a devil. You should be a blue dinosaur.
Yeah, my mom would have had a conniption if I went to Walla Walla High School.
Yeah, I remember they were the blue.
But the other team name I do remember was I think I was probably the first maybe second grade. I played a year of flag football. It was before you were old enough to play tackle football, and it was the one time my dad was actually the coach, so he was the head coach. And I remember us taking a team vote again, and we ended up landing on Broncos. Totally normal name, but I do remember him really trying to just guide us in the direction of picking Seahawks. He's a huge Seahawks fan. He's like,
I knew you were going to
sure?
say that.
You guys sure you don't want to be the Seahawks, the Broncos? I don't know. And I remember that. But we were a firm bunch and stuck with Broncos. But we ended up going like 5-0 that year. And my dad had us running trick plays. I mean, we were running like flea flickers, reverse sweeps, all kinds of nonsense, just fooling the shit out of all these other 6, 7-year-olds. So that was the one year that was really kind of a blast playing football.
Going Little Giants.
Yeah,
The
he was pulling
annexation of
everything
Puerto
out.
Rico.
Statue of Liberty.
Let's see. So probably the pinnacle of my basketball career, not statistically, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. I remember being on the 7th grade B team. I was always short as a kid until like junior year. I didn't grow to be like a normal sized person. I was so short. So I played on the B team in 7th grade. I remember crying for not making the A team. Even like you get so much hindsight and perspective as you get older, but like I don't know what I was thinking it was even possible for me to play for the A team. But I played for the B team. We had these shitty at Horse 7, these purple and white uniforms with no words on them. Just they were like just had the number.
Yeah, white number, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I was a B teamer with black shorts. We had to bring our own black shorts, by the way.
That's right.
Yeah.
We didn't have shorts.
Yeah, they made us bring black. I guess purple would have been too hard to find.
Did you have to go to practice at like 5 a.m.?
That was 6th grade, wasn't it? I can't remember if that was 6th or 7th grade.
Well, I remember we didn't have, at least when I was going there, we didn't have organized sports until 7th grade. It's 7th and 8th grade. You could play on baseball, football, whatever, but not in 6th grade. They didn't have teams for it yet, as I remember.
Okay, then yeah, it must have been 7th grade. 6th grade though, I don't remember if it was like still a Twin City League or something. And then I remember having my practices at Horse 7 though for sure. But it probably wasn't school sponsored. But I do remember that I had the early morning practices. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to get up and ride my bike, and I think it started at 6, and then we practiced for like an hour, and then you had to go into class at like 7:50. Nobody took a shower. Just no one in middle school was going to do that. I think everybody was terrified of being naked in front of anyone, and you just didn't. I don't know. I feel like I didn't even need it at the time as a kid. Didn't sweat that much, but I remember. I feel like some of my coaches were just. I don't know. They would just lose it over. The particular story I'm picturing is we had like X's on the court, for where you'd stand and do your stretches, and this one guy, like, he thought somebody else was on his X, And what a normal person would do would be like, go find another X or go, hey, what are you doing? That's my spot. But this guy just like went and cozied up to the person who was on his X, and they're just both stretching and they're like this far apart from each other. And I just remember the coach saying his name. I think his name was Bryant. He goes, Bryant, what are you doing?
Yeah, I had a lot of coaches that took things way too seriously. It's like you're a 7th grade B team boys basketball coach, and you're trying to act like Pat Riley.
It was 6 a.m. He hadn't had his coffee yet. 9th grade, I think, was the funnest time. I was on a historically bad freshman B team at Southridge. We went 1-18. I got no playing time. I was still super short. I'd go in the last like 55 seconds of the game when we're down by 30, and I would just huck threes. I was Huckleberry Finn. Would do it every single time. Would shoot at least one. It took me like probably 12 games before I got one. I remember we were at Kamaikan and I made the only 3 I made that season. I was probably 1 for 15 or something, and the gym just erupted over that. I think that might have been the one game that we won too. So probably the pinnacle of glory there. Our coach, Mr. Wurzberger, plenty of subject matter there. I remember we were I can't imagine how frustrated he must have been with us coaching such a shitty ass team. I remember at halftime at one point we were all going down to the locker room and we were like just not taking it seriously. It was like, oh, business as usual. We're down by 20 or whatever it was. And, everyone's goofing off, walking in, and he's coming in a little bit behind us. And as he's coming in, somebody knew he was pissed. I think it was like, all right, he's coming. And everybody got quiet. And he comes in and he has the same eyes of death that Rick would do, like bulging open, not nearly as intimidating as Rick, but he goes, that's exactly how it should sound when you come to the locker room. And he had a clipboard and a pen, and he took the clipboard and repeats himself. He goes, that's exactly how it should sound. Throws his Sharpie across the room. And then he starts walking to go get the Sharpie. And he goes, don't say a word, as he's walking over there. And I remember like within a nanosecond of him saying that, I went, ah! I was about to die. I remember him bringing a baby to practice at one point. I think it was like his niece or something he was randomly taking care of. Brought her and just set her on the side. Yeah, just set her on the sideline in a little carriage thing.
She probably enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. Some of those coaches were funny. I don't know, just sticklers for the rules, I guess. But again, it's like you're a freshman B basketball coach. 7th grade B team. I was on the 7th grade B team, and Max and I actually were pretty fucking dominant. We just had a system where we would just bypass the outlet pass off a rebound and essentially just kind of cherry pick. One of us would get the board on the defensive side, and the other one would already be just all the way down the court. Like that was it. We just saw that the shot go up, and then one of us is just booking it. And then we just lob it, all the way across court, easy layup. We would do that over and over and over again. And our coach would just go ballistic. He couldn't handle it because we weren't playing fundamental basketball. He wanted us to be the San Antonio Spurs. But it was like a year-long battle, dude. It was all season long where he was trying to break us of this. And it's like, we're getting easy buckets.
Didn't you have to play against Max to make the A team one year?
8th grade. Yeah, 8th grade. We both actually just played pretty well in tryouts, but ultimately it came down to one last spot. Well, there was a couple last spots. I lost to Andrew Mendenhall. And so that's it. He was on the A team. And then I had to play, for the final spot for the A team, I had to play Max and one-on-one. And I don't even remember what it went to. I don't think it was that many points. It was just kind of a quick game of one-on-one, and he got the better of me. As he used to do quite a bit in our youth. He had a good Shaq presence about him, down in the paint. He could back me down in the paint pretty easily. So he was getting a lot of free buckets that way. But he beat me and got on the A team, and I got saddled with a bunch of scrubs on the B team.
Well, what was he going to do without you there to lob it full court to him?
Yeah, I know. I don't think he got that much playing time, and I remember him and I just talking about that. It would have been nice just to run it back on B team and just piss off the coach again and keep not playing fundamental basketball. But yeah, that always just angered him. So I had one other coach too that was also he took it way too seriously. I mean, probably wasn't the only guy, but he's one that stands out. But I had a coach in grid kids football with the Rams. I was on the Rams in the fourth grade, I think, and we actually won the Super Bowl that year, which was pretty cool. But I do remember having our end of the year party, and he came in lifting up the trophy in the after the year party like it was the Lombardi, just hooting and hollering.
I call it the Super Bowl. You can't expect him to not act like it's the Lombardi.
Everybody was like hyped up about it. I remember like parents, all the rest of my teammates were like, "Oh yeah, heck yeah," clapping, cheering. And I remember even in the fourth grade thinking like, "This is cringy as hell."
I think I had a little bit of that in me too, because I remember in fourth grade, the Pokemon was taking the elementary school world by storm. Yeah, and I was like, you guys are faggots. That's how we talked in elementary school. Anybody who was into something you didn't like, that they were a faggot. And I was like, I don't like Pokemon. Get it out of here. I'm not interested. And I don't know. I think I've always hated trends. And to this day, I'm kind of the same way. If something takes off and everyone's talking about it, I probably won't even give it a chance.
Oh yeah, no. If the bulk, if the majority of people typically like something or latch onto something, that tells me that's a huge red flag. I won't automatically rule it out, but I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm very wary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You had the one thing I forgot to mention about. So freshman year, when I was playing for Coach Wurtzberger, the 1-18 team, there was a girl who was I think a senior at Southridge, and she was coaching a Twin City team for like 8th and 9th graders. I remember telling you and Keith this, and he lost it. That he was like, Twin City freshman year. I played Twin City freshman year. I was on that B team, and then I got recruited by this girl to play for another team. He's like, oh, this guy's not getting any playing time. Maybe he'll thrive over here. So I was like a WNBA player playing overseas simultaneously, like Brittany Griner.
Yeah, I do remember losing it over that too. I can't believe that Twin City ran all the way through the 9th grade.
By the way, there were 3 teams in that league. 3.
I can't imagine. Yeah,
and 2 of them
teams of like 8.
Yeah, our team was called the Leprechauns, and one of the other teams of the 3 was also called the Leprechauns. So there were 2 teams called the Leprechauns in a 3-team league.
What is it? The SEC?
I know, with the Auburn Tigers and the LSU Tigers, Georgia Bulldogs, Mississippi State Bulldogs. They just can't get it together down
there. The Missouri Tigers are another one now.
LSU, yeah.
Yep.
I forgot Missouri.
Way too many. But Leprechauns, I like that even in the 9th grade, they still couldn't figure out a proper name for a team. It's okay.
It's not. I don't know. I think the Fighting Irish is one of the cooler names in sports. Leprechauns is, but
I do like that.
It's related. I don't know.
Leprechauns is a little sillier though. I don't know. It's no blue dinosaurs.
It's way sillier. Blue dinosaurs.
It's still a little nonsensical for a 9th grade team. You might as well be the Hobbits. Did you ever play baseball at any point, in childhood?
Not organized. I would we had a park close to our house, and I'd go down there and I'd hit balls, and I had a glove, and I'd play catch with my brothers or whoever. But I never played on a team.
I played 1 year of baseball, 6th grade, so I was way late to the game. I mean, the area that you and I grew up in, felt like everybody played baseball.
Yeah,
kind of a baseball town in that way, I guess. I don't know. And they were pretty competitive. The baseball leagues there, the youth baseball league. So I didn't get to play until 6th grade for whatever reason. That was kind of the one sport that my parents lagged on ever just signing me up for it. And I was basically on the Bad News Bears. Our best player was fucking dominant, and it was a girl, and she was absolutely dominant, just raking home runs. Best pitcher by a mile. Grade? Yeah, sixth grade.
Jeez.
Yeah, she was dominant, and we were just bunch of scrubs, bottom of the standings. I had fun in the outfield, and I played second base a lot too, and so I had fun defensively, but I hated batting. I was up there every time. It was the most stressful endeavor every time I had to go hit. It's just you, if a fucking pitcher, and that's it. And all eyes are on you. I just remember every time I bat, I'd just be out there knocking knees. So it was the 1 year I played, and that was it. I was done and never wanted to hit again.
That is probably, I mean, one of the most high pressure scenarios in sports. I mean, of all the major four team sports, there's not really the closest thing to that, I guess, would be like a shootout in hockey. It's just the shooter and the goalie. But yeah, it's same dynamic.
That's it. All eyes are on you. I mean, you'd get decent little crowds at those little league games too. And I remember like a city playoff game. It was a close game going in. I think there were 6 or 7 inning games. But going into the 5th or the 6th inning or something like that, and it was like a tied game. We had a couple of guys on, and I had to go hit. Just a scarring experience walking up to that plate. Like I could vividly remember it now, and how much I just was looking for exits to get the hell out of there. I was thinking about pretending my contact fell out, anything. I got to get out of here. Pinch hit, get a pinch hitter. I can't fucking do it. I went up there, struck out.
All right, so this week on Apocalypse Now, I hope you enjoyed that nice Latin serenading of Dies Irae once again, and we're gonna follow it up this week for Apocalypse Now with another song. Let's take a listen.
Mass for loved ones, mass for friends. It's not about you, also not hard to do. Just because we're tired doesn't mean it's over. Mandate masks, that's our ask. Mass for seniors, mass for kids. It's not about you, also not like the flu. Just because we're tired doesn't mean it's over.
All right, so we started our very first episode. We had a similar thing. It was around Christmas time, and somebody was dreaming. They were dreaming of a masked Christmas. That was the song they were doing. And much like these people, besides being idiots, another thing they have in common is having no rhythm and no songwriting ability. You already took the framework of a song that exists. You got I'm Dreaming, you got White Christmas, and you got Frere Jacques is what they chose to use in this case. And you still can't put together something that has any kind of cadence that makes sense. What was it? Not about you. Also not hard to do. How are you so many syllables into that little section? It sounds like shit. How about this? Does nothing for you. What else? I'm just trying to think of something off the top of my head here to show I'm a better songwriter than they are. What is it?
Did they not see the state?
Hey, I got it. In regards to masks, does nothing for you, tickles your nose too. I don't want to fucking wear it.
Much better.
Pretty good.
See? Yeah, much better. At least you're on beat and everything, right?
That's right.
As terrible as their songwriting is, I've got a couple other bones to pick. One, did they not even see the State of the Union like last week? Or at least the highlights? Biden basically declared the end of the pandemic. He said, we have all the tools to fight it. The pandemic's over. And by the way, most of the country's already been living that way. The pandemic is over. It's been over. It was over before Christmas, when those nutcases were singing they wanted a masked Christmas. But now it's really over. Everybody's moved on. Europe's moved on. Canada's moved on. Everybody's fucking moved on. And they're still out there protesting. These people are basically Jim Jones cultists who saw Jonestown happen, and they still thought, no, yeah, he's still correct. This is the right guy. This guy was God. You're just lashing up way past the expiration date.
By the way, I wouldn't say Canada's over it as far as I could tell.
Well, Trudeau's cracking down on the protesters, right? But I think largely they've gotten back to normal. Like capacity limits are gone and whatnot, aren't they? I don't know if they have like big crowds in arenas at hockey games, for instance. Though I don't know.
I think they cut them back at least. I watched a Leafs game this week and it looked normal, but not that long ago it looked like they had cut back again. So it was just a very short time and they got back to it pretty quickly, surprisingly.
Yeah, but, Trudeau is an absolute tyrant. The guy's a dictator. On a moral level, he's no better than Vladimir Putin.
And he's it's an odd combination. He's a pussy. He's a tyrant and an enormous pussy. But that's kind of that's the paradox of society today in general is the biggest pussies have the most power.
Yeah, he's basically Che Guevara. Another big pussy, by the way. And also, by the way, he's Fidel Castro's bastard son. Yeah, big time. The other thing I liked about this clip is just contrasted with the chyron at the bottom. Russia planning public executions in Ukraine. These are the issues that are really happening in the world, by the way. And these fucking people are still concerned with if you're wearing a mask in public or not.
And
we're on the verge of a World War III and a nuclear holocaust. You are all going to be vaporized, but you're still worried about catching COVID.
And nobody's told them, hey, you're still allowed to wear one. That's not good enough for them. They'll go out doing that wherever they go. And it needs to be mandated. That's what the lyrics said. Mandate masks up your ass. Get the fuck out of here. What the hell? And how about that kid standing there too with the mask on? He looks like he's having a grand old time. That kid has no childhood. What is he gonna have to look back on?
Yeah, he's.
I went and stood on the steps of this building and was wearing a mask and sang a mask song with my mom and her fruity friends.
It is kind of the Larry David Curb Your Enthusiasm bit about liking lobster and demanding that everybody else like lobster or have lobster.
Except he was comparing it to evangelization, I think.
Yeah. Well, this is a religion too. This is their religion. Yeah. But I enjoy wearing hats. I wear hats pretty frequently. Yeah, exactly. The thought of mandating everyone wearing a hat is ridiculous. It wouldn't maybe affect me personally, but that would be a laughable idea. And it's the same thing with these fucking masks that all the data is showing doesn't really work anyway.
Although I do see some hairstyles sometimes that I think we should mandate covering up one way or another. What is this thing that so many women have done in the last few years where they have normal female hair, it's long and everything, but they just shave this whole portion of their head? And it looks like you had a tumor removed, but it's just it's a style move. There's no scar there. If there's no scar there, there's no reason for you to have done that. It looks horrible. It feels like it's kind of fallen off though, but it was a trendy thing for a while.
Yeah. Women wanting to look like Billy Ray Cyrus, apparently. As far as the whole Apocalypse Now, segment is concerned, I know you and I have prayed for the downfall of God, let it be. But I think our prayers were answered, by the way.
Yeah.
It sure seems like it. Things are pretty hot with Russia right now.
Yeah, I have zero hope for anything. I think we are so far beyond redeeming. I was thinking about this today. I feel like America, while a great idea in the beginning, is probably at some point going to end up being like kind of a failed social experiment. How can you have a country of like over 300 million people where no one even shares the most basic values? How is that going to work out? We're going to be screwed at some point. I mean, we're already screwed, but how long can we continue going on? I don't know. I think about that all the time.
Yeah. I really don't think it'll turn into a hot war because, it's the whole concept of mutually assured destruction. And I don't think either side's really going to go through with that, God willing. But if it did, we will lose. If we get in a war with Russia or China and or both, we will lose. We will lose.
Are you quoting Ivan Drago from the other end? That's Putin coming to the center of the ring with Biden. You will lose.
Dude,
I must break you.
I don't trust anybody in our country. I think as soon as the power grids went out and people didn't have their Netflix for 2 hours, that's it. Everybody's willing to wave the white flag, and we would welcome the Russians into our country as liberators, as long as they just give us our Netflix back. I'm a pessimist, man. But it's not just that. Since we had our prayer for the apocalypse, I saw a story today about how scientists are saying that a new spider species from Asia is going to be parachuting down from the skies onto the East Coast in May this year. An entire the size of a hand. They're going to be just parachuting from the sky
to the East Coast.
Yeah, like a plague that visited Pharaoh, sent by Moses. Moses is up in the heavens right now, like, yeah, just give the whole eastern seaboard this fucking spider.
And you live over there, and that's your nightmare.
Yeah, it said the whole eastern seaboard, specifically Georgia, and Georgia's not very far. So,
jeez. Well, they've been wrong about shit plenty of times before, but whatever happens, we're in trouble. All right. Thank you again for being with us for this 9th episode of Crappy Days. We're going to hit you with one more before we finish the season and then go into quiet, silent contemplation about what to do next. We're going to be in a monastery wearing monk robes, thinking about, because we want to keep things fresh. And, when we come back with a second season, we might switch it up a little bit. So, but we'll have another episode for you next week, and then we'll see you from there. Have a good one.
We got laughs from coast to coast to make you smile. A real live look at each of you to capture all that style. You're the red, white, and blue. The fun and things you do. America, America, this is you. Stories from your friends next door. They never told